Hello and welcome back to Magic in the Media. All right, so let's play a little game. I call it Trust the Future. Picture this. You're watching the 6 o'clock news and the friendly meteorologist, you know the one, points at a swirling map and says, "Folks, there's about a 40% chance of rain tomorrow." And you nod. You make a mental note to maybe, just maybe, grab an umbrella. It's sensible. It's science. Now, stay with me here. The news ends and a commercial flickers on, and this mysterious, gravelly voice promises get this, a 100% guaranteed reading about your love life, but only if you call the psychic hotline in the next 10 minutes. What do? You probably just chuckle, right? But why? I mean, both are predicting the future, yet one gets a multi-million-dollar Doppler radar system, and the other one, well, the other gets the time slot right after the odds for commemorative plates. So today we're pulling back the curtain on why that is. Why are weather forecasts seen as respectable while fortune-telling is, let's say, suspect? Here's a spoiler for you. It has nothing to do with being right all the time. Nope, it's all about how you frame the conversation and what you do when you're wrong. So to kick things off, let's define our terms. It's prediction versus prophecy. On one side, you have a prediction or a forecast. Think of it as an educated guess with all the math shown. It's built on data, on complex models, and it's not afraid to admit, hey, you know what? We're not totally sure. But on the other side, you have prophecy, fortune-telling. And this is a claim of absolute divine or secret knowledge. A flat, this will happen. The key difference isn't the accuracy, it's accountability. We accept uncertainty from a weather forecast because, frankly, it feels honest. A 40% chance of rain isn't some wimpy promise, it's a confident measurement of risk. Meteorologists are literally graded on their work with things like Breyer scores. Their models are constantly tweaked, studied, and improved. And when a forecast misses, there's a public post-mortem. It's a whole system built on intellectual humility. A forecast isn't a promise. It's more like a receipt for uncertainty. But fortune-telling, that often triggers our suspicion because it engages in what I, as a magician, call certainty theater. It's a performance, really. It offers these specific, super high-stakes promises with no error bars. You will meet a handsome stranger. I mean, there's no 75% probability of a reasonably attractive acquaintance, is there? The claims are also just cleverly designed to be unfalsifiable. If you don't meet that stranger, well, maybe you weren't open to the universe's energy. And when cash is exchanged for that feeling of certainty, the incentive to overpromise is enormous. Let's be real, there is no peer review board for palm readers. And get this deep-seated suspicion is so old it's literally written into our laws. Now, okay, these are often old, sometimes kind of wacky laws, but they tell a fascinating story. For example, there was a report from Millsboro, Delaware that notes a ban on witchcraft and fortune-telling from 1998 was only just repealed in 2024. In that same year, Norfolk, Virginia reportedly did away with a 45-year-old ban on palmistry. And in some places, like Oak Park, Illinois, the ordinances are more focused on fraud, making it illegal to take money under the pretense of fortune-telling. The legal trend seems to be this. Courts often rule that, telling fortunes is protected speech. It's a form of entertainment, but they draw a very, very clear line when that entertainment crosses into pretending to have certain knowledge for financial gain. Now, getting a prediction wrong today might earn you some angry comments online. Dramatically, in the past, the stakes were, significantly higher. There's a famous traditional account from ancient China about two court astronomers, He and Ho. As the legend goes, they got their calculations wrong and failed to predict a solar eclipse, so the emperor, believing this was a terrible omen that threatened his authority, had them, well, let's just say they were permanently relieved of their stargazing duties.
It's a chilling, if maybe a little exaggerated, early tale about the demand for forecast accountability. And we even have a modern and much more complex echo of this. Remember the 2009 Aquila earthquake in Italy? A group of scientists were actually convicted of manslaughter. Now, that verdict was later overturned on appeal, but they were accused of miscommunicating the risk and of offering what was perceived as false reassurance right before the quake. It was a complete legal and scientific tragedy, but it highlights a crucial point. In a crisis, people don't want probabilities. They crave certainty, and they can become furious with the very experts who are just trying to be honest and explain the limits of their own knowledge. Of course, no discussion of misprediction is complete without the most famous headline blunder in history. Building anticipation, on November 3, 1948, the Chicago Tribune, feeling really confident based on early polls, went to press with the immortal words, "Dewey defeats Truman." And then came that glorious photograph, a beaming, victorious Harry Truman, holding up the very newspaper that had declared him a loser. The Tribune wasn't evil, they were just overconfident. They treated a partial, uncertain prediction as a final fact. It is the ultimate cautionary tale for anyone who deals in data. So when you boil it all down, what's the real difference between the meteorologist and the psychic? In a word, auditing. Meteorologists have their work archived and scored. They face public verification. They operate with professional standards. Psychics, on the other hand, they have testimonials and for entertainment-only disclaimers. The entire audience contract is completely different. One is all about transparency, the other is about mystique. And this brings us to that very fine but very important line between a scam and entertainment. A scam takes money by selling false certainty, often by exploiting fear or grief or desperation. Entertainment, which is what magic is, that creates a sense of wonder, but it's inside a clear consensual frame. The audience knows it's a performance, and no advice is given that could seriously impact someone's life, their finances, their health. That's the ethical tightrope. So what can we as performers and entertainers steal from the scientists? A surprising amount. We can borrow their language to build drama. Saying, "I have about a 70% hunch you picked the Queen of Hearts" is so much more engaging than a flat, "I know it." We can show our process, our charts, our strange little devices without ever revealing the true method. And when we miss, we can just treat it like a jazz musician hitting a wrong note. Make it part of the solo, not a failure. It makes the entire experience feel more authentic, more collaborative. And that brings us right back to our TV channels, the news versus the late-night ad. One is a place for predictions that embrace transparency, that are backed by institutions, and that live with accountability. The other is a place for prophecies that sell certainty, that target personal stakes, and have absolutely no audit trail. So what the lesson for all of us, I think, whether we're watching the news or a magic show, is this. It's not about never being wrong. It's about how you communicate uncertainty and whether you're willing to answer for your mistakes. Now, here's a question we'd like you to think about. The next time you're faced with a prediction, what will you look for? Will you look for the confidence of the claim, or will you look for the evidence of its accountability? Warm tone, thanks for tuning in to Magic in the Media. Until next time, stay curious.